Hello everybody, we are back. I apologize for the little hiatus there. I had a lot of family-oriented business to take care of, but nonetheless, we are back with tons of races to cover. I have a couple races in SRL, Hyperdrive, and even the beginning of the regular season of the World of Outlaws Sprint Car League that I am in. So yeah, tons of stuff to look forward to. Blame the cat for the mess of the bed you're seeing in the background. She loves to tear apart the bed and then lay in the mess remains of covers. So yeah, as you can see here, I didn't get qualifying in this clip, unfortunately, but as you can see there, we got pole position. This is now round 4 of SRL. I didn't put together a great lap, really, in qualifying. I went 33.0. I should have been able to easily get into the 32s. But luckily, I did have a little bit of a pace advantage going into this race. I could tell from the trial times and the times people were talking about doing in the Discord. So I was feeling very confident coming in this race. While it is a home country race, as an American, on an American track, this technically isn't my home race of the season. That will be Miami. I'm located in Pennsylvania, so I'm a lot closer to Miami than I am all the way over here in Texas. But still, this has been a home race for me in the past. I won this race last season when with Jensen Randall, who's now retired from the league, being the only person really that held pace with me in this race. I felt really good going into this one. And even with not a great lap, being able to get pole position, yeah, like I said, I was feeling confident about this one, feeling confident in the race setup. And not much to talk about in terms of the strategy. It's the same strategy for the same reason that you've heard me say 100 times at this point. But interestingly enough, the Alfa Romeo behind me of Manuelito is on the mediums. So we could be in for a fight here early in the race. But if I can even stay anywhere close to him when I'm on the hard tire and he's on the medium, then we'll easily be able to take home the win when I go to the softer tire at the end of the race. Well, the softer tire being the medium, you don't really use the softs at all in races on this game unless if you get a late safety car. And our teammate with another good showing, qualifying third, so we look to continue after this race to lead both the drivers and the constructors, because of course that is our goal, to win both of those this season. And now it is time for the start of the race. Crucial to get a good launch here off the grid. And we have decent reactions off the line. We get good traction down on the hards, and we are able to gap the field. Manuelito in the mediums doesn't get a great start, and we are able to lead in the turn 1 on the hard tire, and this is an absolutely fantastic start for us. When someone behind you starts on medium tires, you can basically expect to just lose that position, and I wasn't really worried about that too much in terms of the long-term plan of the whole race, but to be able to start out in front of Manuelito when he's on the mediums was just a huge victory in terms of the whole race right immediately, because this is the part of the race where he needs to be pulling a gap on me and doing it quickly, because I will be faster when I go to the medium tires at the end of the race. So right now my goal is going to be to hold him up as much as possible, and then if he does overtake me, which is probable, be able to stick with him and have him tow me along as long as possible to make the gap as small as possible at the end of the race when I go to the mediums, and hope that I do in the race what I didn't really do in qualifying, and that is just nail my lap times. Obviously, you push the different levels because you don't want to get penalties, especially on a track like this where it's so easy to get penalties in Sector 1. But yeah, this is the first race in SRL this season where I didn't really feel like I nailed my qualifying lap, but luckily this is a very strong track for me in the season, so even me not nailing my lap was still good enough for pole position. And yeah, we lead at the end of lap 1. We ride this curb under braking, but we don't ride other curbs under braking. Remember that this league, the damage is set to simulation, so we can damage the floor. We can damage all parts of the car, including the floor, the rear wing. So I do kind of like that. I wish more leagues interpreted that. It would mean you have to drive a little bit more realistically on certain tracks. It makes a big difference because there's just certain curbs that with simulation damage you just can't take that curb anymore, which is realistic because you shouldn't be able to slam up over sausage curbs every lap of the race, especially with heavy fuel, and expect to have no consequences. The reserve driver of Luke Smith DNF there, which was unfortunate for him, but fortunate for us because he does have quite a bit of pace. So as we saw in Bahrain earlier this season, where I believe he got second place in the first race of the season as a reserve driver. So when he does show up, he doesn't really have the schedule to be a full-time driver, but when he does show up, he would probably be my main threat for the title fight. If he was a full-time driver. But nonetheless, he's out of the race, so with all due respect, we're not going to be thinking about him now. And yeah, my main focus here is Manuelito. He was, what, a tenth and a half off of me in qualifying. I knew that I probably had a couple more tenths potential in pace, but still, that's not a big gap, and DRS can easily make up those few tenths. So early on here, I've now survived 2 laps with him on the mediums behind us, and every single lap that I go with him not leading is a gigantic victory for us in terms of the big picture of this race. So that is my goal, like I said on lap 1. Hold him up as much as possible, hold the lead as long as possible, because this is the part of the race where he needs to be faster and pulling a gap on me, because I'm going to be able to make up tons of time when I go to the medium tire and he goes to the hards at the end of the race. Pulling forward just a little bit now, we are now on, as you can see, lap 4. Nick Van Helger is, or Gelder, however you say his name. I'm a stupid American, we suck at foreign names. He is out of the session, and that crash has brought out a full safety car. And it is too early in the race for me to go to the mediums and take them to the end. I forget whether or not this is right on the cusp of being able to take hards to. I don't believe this is in the zone to be able to take hards to the end. So yeah, as you can see behind us, Manuelito stays out. And the gap wasn't huge between us, so it's not like he got to make up a big gap that I was pulling out. And honestly, I feel like the safety car does slightly help me, because these are a couple more laps on the stint that he needs to be pulling away from me that I'm guaranteed to stay ahead on. And with the safety car helping rebuild my battery, I'll have plenty of juice to defend him when we do go back to green. And every single lap, like I said, it ticks away. Gets me closer and closer to the stint of the race where I will have the faster tire. At the end of lap 6, the safety car would come in, so when we go to green flag racing, it would be lap 7. Safety car killed 3 laps out of this race for us. I'm having trouble keeping tire temps in the rears, so I have to be aware of that and err a little bit on the side of caution with my driving for the first couple corners. I try to catch the field a little bit off guard there with my launch, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of that, as you don't even see the proximity errors. And yeah, you can see the better part of a second gap already pulled to Manuelito behind me. And that's really going to help my cause for staying out in front as long as possible. And we're actually going to get to the part of the stint sooner rather than later that the hard tire will actually become faster as the medium tire wears out and loses its pace faster. So yeah, everything's looking good for us so far. I feel confident and smooth in my driving, just nailing consistent lap times. And something that I've kind of spoken on in years past, but not really as much in this year's game when I've been making regular videos, is that something that I would always say to teams I've principled for in certain leagues or in other advice videos I've given, is that these league races on Saturday. So a lot of my philosophy is I don't win these races on Saturday, I win them Sunday through Monday, and that's the mindset you gotta have. Getting in tons of practice laps on qualifying pace, low fuel, high fuel, getting your setup right, just takes away so much of the difficulty of league racing, because there isn't really a situation that can come by that I'm not prepared for. I know exactly how the car's going to feel and react to things on low fuel. I know how it's going to react to things on high fuel. I know how to have my car set up to not overheat in the race. I don't even got to worry about my temperatures. You know, I know how aggressively I can get away with driving in race pace because I practiced my race pace in race situations. I don't have to worry about tire strategy because I know exactly how long I'm willing to take each tire. The moment a safety car comes out, I know exactly which tire I am or am not going to, and I don't even got to think about it. So all that I need to worry about in my races, because I've done all this preparation, is just the current situation I'm in and just nailing my driving, basically. All I have to focus on is my driving here and just where we are situationally in the race, which is trying to stay ahead of Manuelito when he's on the mediums for as many laps as possible. And it just takes away from the mental load when you're prepared for all these things. You know, I don't have to divert my brain to thinking about other things while I'm racing because I already have all that other stuff taken care of and I've already practiced it. So yeah, like the 7 P's that they teach, prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Or as I like to put it, you don't win races on race day, you win them the other 6 days of the week. And right now that practice is really paying off. I'm very comfortable with how the car feels. I'm very comfortable with my strategy, and I'm able to stay ahead of my main championship rival right now, even though he's on a compound of tire faster than me. And this is a big win for us because, yeah, like if I can be ahead of my championship rival and he's on a softer tire, that says a lot about the pace we have, and it makes me feel really confident being able to stay ahead in this championship fight. Because if they're not even overtaking me when they're on a faster tire, you know, what's going to happen when we're on the same tire, let alone even a faster compounded tire like we will at the end of the race. But I do think in terms of the championship, we're going to learn a lot as we go to some tracks because he's on wheel and I'm on pad. Once we get to some of those tracks that the pad players are very disadvantaged, like for example, Imola is, I believe, the next race in our season that we had. If I would be able to pull a gap at a track where pad is terrible, like Imola or Canada or Italy or Monaco, then at that point, mentally, I will think, you know, I got this championship locked. But until then, absolutely can't get lazy in terms of my racing and also in terms of my preparation. And that, and I'm also a bit of a competitor too. And this league does keep all the stats, so I want my stat sheet to look as good as possible. You know, I'm here to get the best result I can every single week, regardless of what the situation is in the championship. And not losing that focus and always giving every race your all is another big piece of advice I like to give people in league racing. You know, don't get lazy regardless of the championship situation, because you can take advantage of other people getting lazy or getting a little laxed or having poor attendance, and always keeping up on your preparation, because where the big differences are made, that the people that are winning the championships in the leagues you're racing in are doing, is that they're putting in the work the other 6 days of the week that aren't race day. And after we skip ahead from me raveling on like an idiot for a little bit and the laps tick by, eventually we stayed ahead of Manuelito and actually started to pull a gap as the hard tires were faster at the end of his stint. He pit already off of the mediums. Now is my time to pit off of the hards. Remember, in this league, we don't have speeding penalties, so that's why we just fly into the pits. That's something I got to remember, too, every week. You know, slightly different lobby settings and rules in SRL compared to Hyperdrive. In Hyperdrive, you can get penalties for speeding, and simulation is standard. You gotta not worry about speeding into the pit lane in SRL, but you do have to worry about things like floor damage over curbs because we do have simulation standard damage. And here you can see we coming out of the pits just barely ahead of this battle going on. Luckily, it's like one of those things in real life F1 where they got it down to the second, but I wasn't really measuring the gap to the cars behind. I was just pinning on what was the optimal lap for me, and I was confident that, and also on a track like this where it's easy to overtake, that I wouldn't be held up too much anyhow if I came out in a tiny bit of traffic with the pace we have and the fresh movement of tires. But luckily, I didn't have to really worry about that at all. I kind of accidentally broke a little bit too late going into turn 1 with the cold tires, but it ended up being a proper defensive move to keep my position there. So it all played out in the end, and as you can see, if these fresh tires are able to get away from those guys behind, we come out of the pits in 3rd place, so it would be really convenient if a safety car did not come out right about now. And we are looking good to retake the lead when the pit stops completely cycle through. And yeah, already being ahead of Manuelito when we're now in the mediums and he's on the hards, we should be able to pull a gap and bring this race home with no problem. So mentally, I'm telling myself right now, I don't need to push my balls off. I just need to make sure I don't get a stupid penalty in case there's a late safety car that brings the field back together. And I don't need to push so hard that I'm risking spinning out, because we've got the pace and we've got the tires to be able to bring home this race win. Eventually, the 3rd place car did pit, and we have caught up to the now leader, which is our teammate, Tim Wetnick. Teammate Tim Wetnick. The kind of is similar words, similar sounding there. So give me a break. And yeah, I'm sure he won't overfight us for this position, as we are on different tire strategies. At this point, he pit very early during the first safety cars, so he will have to pit again. We're going to get a nice slipstream from him. He's going to politely make sure that we have the space to take the racing line going into the corner. And yeah, Team Haas is still looking good in this race to bring home the most points of any team. I'm looking to bring home the most points of any driver. And today is looking, as it stands, to be a great race to accomplish both of our goals of the Drivers and Constructors Championship, scoring the most points in both. And yeah, this was kind of a race where I expected to do that. I know a lot of people in this league aren't particularly fond of this track or particularly strong on this track, while this is a strong track for me. So with me knowing that I'm one of the front runners in the championship, you could say this is one of the tracks I kind of expected to have a good result, but still being able to make those results happen are very important, because if you don't get the results in the tracks you should, that's just points that you should be getting, you're just missing out on. While equally, if you can make something happen on a track that you're not the fastest guy on, that's equally as important. It's the ebbs and flows of the championship. And also, it's interesting because, like I said, looking forward to some of the tracks where the pad player is disadvantaged. I don't know what's going to happen there. Am I going to lose to my teammate? Am I going to lose to Manuelito? Am I going to lose to Oleski? Who knows? That's why, even though things seem to be going really good right now, not just in this race, but the championship as a whole, I'm not getting lazy one bit. And after retaking the lead, it was a very calm, kind of cruise to the end of the race. We're going to win in our home country at Circuit of the Americas and pick up another win this season. And it's a great day, like I said, accomplishing our goals in the championship. And as you can see, we absolutely pulled a gap in this race. We were able to win by over 20 seconds. I forget, honestly, what had happened to Manuelito, that he fell back through the field. I believe he had a spin at some point. So it's Oleski getting second. Manuelito's teammate brings home his second, I believe this was his first podium in SRL, if I remember correctly. So congratulations to him on getting his first podium. He was very happy about getting his first podium, and very rightfully so. And yeah, Manuelito comes home fourth. Our teammate did have to pit again. Not great pit strategy with how the safety car played out for him, but still, with him getting 7 points and me winning, we still scored the most points today as a team. I scored the most points as a driver, and it was just a great day overall. And I now make it 2 seasons in a row that I win on, I guess you could still say it's technically a home track for me, as it's in my country, but this isn't quite our home race, as the closest race to me geographically and in my country, well, technically geographically it's just Canada's track, but the closest race to me in my country is the Miami race, so that is what I would consider my proper home race of the season. But yeah, this is still a track I really like to win on. Nonetheless, and we extend our lead in the championship. But the next round is going to be a lot more difficult, as in the next race we would go to Imola, which is one of, if not the worst pad tracks in the game. Not only that, but it's an Italian track. Manuelito is Italian. Not just that, but he lives about 10 minutes from the track. So I will be racing at my rival's home track next week, and we will see if we can keep this win streak going. So thanks again for watching. Again, sorry about the hiatus. I had a lot of family stuff go down the last couple weeks, but now I should be clean and clear to get a lot of these videos that I have stored, made tons of races to show you guys and commentate on. A lot of exciting ones to come up. We had a very dramatic finish to one of the hyperdrive races as tire life became an issue. And we have multiple eventful races in the World of Outlaws league that I am in. So yeah, lots of excitement to look forward to if you like watching these videos. So yeah, thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you fairly soon in the next one.